Hi, this is Dr. Cairns with a brief overview of what you'll be studying this week as we examine affirmative action, harassment, looking at reasonably accommodating disability and religion, and then other work-life conflicts and diversity issues. Endpoint. So the first thing is affirmative action. It is a controversial topic. Justice Anton Scalia is noted for some comments that he made in a University of Texas case of affirmative action in December of 2015, basically not viewing that affirmative action programs should be necessary. And actually the court ruled in a 4-3 decision in favor of the University of Texas's practices to consider race in terms of admission programs. So it's a controversial topic. So when is it required? What are some of the things that you need to reflect on so that you don't engage in reverse discrimination, which we also hear a lot about is one of the reasons people say they don't want affirmative action programs. But there are some conditions that require organizations to have that. So being familiar with what they are also will help in an organization's recruitment efforts and diversity efforts as well. And so one of the other topics big that everyone knows is harassment. And essentially it is being able to recognize exactly when it's occurring, understanding that as a company, as an individual, as a supervisor, there's also liability associated for engaging in harassment. And then there's the need for a company to be proactive to eliminate harassment. I'm going to show you a brief lecture video of one of the more common elements of harassment that we are aware of. Mostly when you think of harassment, you think of sexual harassment, and so this covers that area, but there are a whole bunch of other things associated with it as well.
The law defines sexual harassment as unwelcome verbal, visual, or physical conduct of a sexual nature that is severe or pervasive and affects working conditions or creates a hostile work environment. Conduct of a sexual nature is broken into 3 parts: verbal, visual, and physical. Verbal includes comments about clothing, a person's body, sexual or gender-based jokes or remarks, requesting sexual favors or repeatedly asking a person out, sexual innuendos, threats, spreading rumors about a person's personal or sexual life, or foul and obscene language. Visual includes posters, drawings, pictures, screensavers, cartoons, emails, or text of a sexual nature. Physical includes assault, impeding or blocking movement, inappropriate touching such as kissing, hugging, patting, stroking, or rubbing, sexual gesturing, or even leering or staring. There are 2 categories of sexual harassment. The first is quid pro quo, which literally means this for that. It occurs when a boss uses job rewards such as raises or promotions or punishment such as demotions or firing to force employees into a sexual relationship or sexual act. The second is hostile environment, which is defined as conduct that unreasonably interferes with work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. For example, it may be sexual harassment if repeated sexual comments make someone so uncomfortable that their work performance suffers, or they decline professional opportunities because it will put them in contact with the harasser. In both types of harassment, employees must prove that the conduct was offensive to someone, not necessarily the intended victim of the harassment. Here is an example. Say a male employee tells a dirty joke to a female coworker. She thinks it's funny, but a second woman passing by finds it offensive. That joke could contribute to a hostile environment claim simply because someone finds it offensive. There are 2 conditions that determine liability for employers in cases of hostile environment sexual harassment. The employer knew or should have known about the harassment, and the employer failed to take appropriate corrective action. Having a training program as well as a clear procedure for reporting harassment claims can shield employers from expensive lawsuits. Visit us at turnkeydoc.com for more tips on how to prevent sexual harassment, training materials, as well as a complete library of company policy and procedures. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for free video tips every month.
So now we come to disability and religion, and you'll notice that I have highlighted in italics reasonably accommodating it. And there are aspects of this that organizations feel sometimes that they have no latitude in terms of what should they do with individuals regarding their disabilities and religious preferences and things like that that are becoming more predominant as we have a society that is much more diverse, as well as looking at issues that we have there. So what are they? And you can engage also in our reading of the Employer Guide for Faith and Work that obviously addresses and takes on a variety of different topics related to religion and religious freedom. But the issue here is that you need to reasonably accommodate. And what does that entail? So you'll be reading about that. And so then I'm giving you a high-level view of work-life conflicts and other diversity issues. There's a whole plethora of those and that are emerging. And one of those that is in a case study that is in your text on page 409. It's a discussion regarding a case where a taxi company issued an English-only policy for its dispatch office. And we see this happening in schools and other sorts of things where we're encountering, do we need to have English? And you'll be surprised, perhaps, to know that the court upheld the company's policy regarding English only being spoken and used in the dispatch office, with some exceptions. So with that, enjoy the rest of the readings, and more detailed information is available in the comprehensive PowerPoint slides.